Look up the word crazy in the dictionary and you might just find an asterisk beside the definition that says, listen to the Subiquitous podcast featuring Sue Duffield and you'll find out what crazy means. Sue's travelogue journey of unfiltered stories, impossible miracles, and faith-filled fun will be revisited right here. So buckle up and let's get going with this humorous travelogue of an unfiltered saint, Subiquitous.
Thanks, Rich. That's Rich Stevens, and he is a great voiceover specialist. You know, when I was a kid, I had dreams of being on radio, and I had dreams of being a great voiceover specialist. And I was made fun of when I was a little girl because my voice was very deep. And so little did I realize that it would lead me to doing radio for almost 10 years back in the 90s. Working at WNRK Radio just outside of Newark, Delaware, and then did some voiceover work also for Amtrak and their engineering school. And then, of course, 45 years on the road, speaking, at least 4 or 5 times a week at times, and just had a great time. I get a lot of comments about how articulate I am, and that is because if I talk too fast, my tongue gets wrapped around my eye tooth and I can't see what I'm saying. I know it's old, but that's what my father used to say. Slow down. Why do all these people talk so fast? I don't understand them. You call up for some sort of, help online for a special customer service. And first of all, a lot of times you don't understand them. And then number 2, the generation that we are, I don't know why we're breeding them, but they just talk way too fast. So, at the benefit of the listener, I promise you this. I will either put you to sleep, or I'll make you feel relaxed, or you're going to tell me, put it on the fast mode, get it over with before I go to bed tonight. One of the fun things of doing podcasts, and this is number 2, by the way. Welcome. I'm Sue Duffield, and I thank you for joining us. This is going to be such a great journey. We hope to give you some backstories, give you some stories that we've never talked about before, and especially this series, we're going to talk about those embarrassing moments and how it really builds character. Or it can build great conversations around the water cooler the next day. I love the fact that I have been as vulnerable as I can be in ministry, and I've been as vulnerable as I can be even when I did oldies radio for all of those years, because I know that's what works, and I know it's only one person at a time that's listening today, and I can't thank you enough for tuning in. And speaking of people who have been one of my greatest fans, Mr. Jeff Duffield, the man I'm married to, I think, is one of my biggest fans. Is that right?
That's right. My articulate and enunciating wife. Yes.
But you really only like me because I make you food.
No. I like you for your two-tone hair color.
Oh, we had to get there.
Oh, yeah, which there's much of these days.
I have an idea. We need, everybody's doing these parody songs during the pandemic. We need to figure out the lyrics of "These roots are made for walking, and that's just what I'll do. One of these days, these roots
gonna
walk all over you." Something like that. I don't know. How are you, Jeff Duffield?
Oh, I'm just peachy keen.
Are you surviving?
I got a notice that we're going to get our stimulus check.
Oh, bless the Lord, oh my soul.
That kind of dates the
That's
podcast.
All right. That's okay. We're allowed to do that.
But it's a current event, is it not?
It is not a...
See, I'm now becoming a very articulate person because I've heard you say that in your opening.
It is not necessary that we become sterile in this podcast, where we have to think only about generic things.
I'm saying it's on this podcast.
No. What I mean is we don't have to be generic with time.
I know what you meant.
I know that it is literally Monday, and it's almost dinner time.
Yes. So can we move the proceedings along?
Yes, and I'm stuck in the closet. That's why it sounds so good.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's amazing what sound, for all you audio people out there, here's a tip for you. If you haven't got a fancy vocal booth, stick your person in a closet with a lot of clothes.
All of these clothes are absorbing all of the sound.
That's exactly what it does. And it sounds very
It also
wonderful.
smells like a Goodwill store in here, too.
Good thing you didn't use mothballs.
That's right. Well, we were talking about, and I have some surprises for Jeff Duffield that he does not know, so you have to know this. I pretty much stick to my concept and a little bit of a script that I have, but I absolutely purposely do not tell him what I'm going to talk about because I want to hear the surprise in his voice.
That's just, out of everything that makes my day, that's one of them.
So we're talking about embarrassing moments. Jeff, I'll never forget as long as I live.
I wish you would, but...
You already kind of know this one, but we were worship leaders at a church in Maryland, and we were singing the song, "You've turned my morning into dancing again. You lifted my sorrow." All right? And do you want to take it from there? And there was like a little instrumental break.
Well, in my arrogance in those days, so that I would not forget the intro goes like this, and you sang it in the wrong key.
I did. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I can only play it in this one key.
Oh.
But the intro, the little motif is...
That's right.
That's how it goes, basically. Okay. In my arrogance, let me back up. First of all, I was trying to make sure I didn't mess up, so I wrote that out, and I had a little score there that I would carry with me every Sunday morning. It's just so it was in front of me. Security blanket, if you will.
And you've played it several times, too.
We've done it a bunch of times.
This wasn't like the first time we did it, right?
Not at all. That's where the arrogance comes in. Oh. One Sunday, I ran out of time and didn't have the time required to run up to my office and get this piece of sheet music. Right. So I thought, I got this. I played it so many times, as you just said. Sure. This is not going to be a problem. Mm-mm. Well, I have this weird brain that occasionally juxtaposes one intro for another. Did you like Did you like that I used the word juxtapose?
I'm very impressed with your knowledge of words.
I learned that one along with delicatessen just last week.
You're a wordsmith.
Anyhow, so we got up on the stage and we're beginning, and sometime the reason I had the security blanket is because of this, because it just, I started to play, but what came out instead of that little melody line, what came out was which, for those of you who may or may not know, that is the intro to Stevie Wonder's Sir Duke. It is not the intro to He Turned My Morning Into Dancing. You can only imagine the looks that I got.
Well, from the singers on the stage.
Well, you were the first. You picked up on it first. There were others who looked at me like, "What in the world are you playing?"
I know, but I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking. Well, you did it one time. You won't do it again.
Oh, no.
because you already figured out you were playing Sir Duke and not Morning Into Dancing.
I figured it out. But do you think I could come? My brain would let me come up with in the middle of that song? No. That's a problem with me. I've had all my life. If I'm hearing either me playing or someone else playing music, I cannot hear in my head another piece of music.
Why is that, you think?
The one that I'm hearing is the one that just takes preeminence, and it's just right there in front of me, and I can't do it. I know people who can. I ain't one of them.
That's a good thing.
My French.
You're single-minded and not double-minded. That's good.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Fortunately, it wasn't so good for this time. But
so we did it again, right? Halfway through the song?
We did it at least 2 or 3 more times. Yeah.
I can't keep silent. Da 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 da.
Why do you keep changing keys?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the key. Stick with it.
Well, just change. She transpose?
Yeah. But no. The single focus brain was. I can't play that thing turned around as I am here at the moment.
Right. Oh, I fell out.
Whatever.
It just worked. It worked.
Oh, it worked all right.
Yeah, it was
But
fun.
the funny part, here's the funny part, is I got up afterwards because I had to make an announcement when we were all done. And I told the audience what I did, and I got blank stares.
Well, no, they didn't realize it.
They had no idea who Sir Duke
that's
was
true.
or Stevie.
Some of them knew who Stevie Wonder was.
Right. That was about it. But they looked at me like,
Yeah, well, so what?
yeah. So it was only embarrassing in my skin, but no, anyway.
I remember that
it's a
time.
moment.
And I'm not trying to make you the brunt of the embarrassment jokes
But
here.
now you're not trying to, but since I am, let's go with it. Right?
It's just so much fun. Listen,
yeah.
I have plenty, but I'm surprising you with a few of these that I remember.
What do you mean you have plenty? You have plenty of for me?
No,
all right.
I just remember being in a Cracker Barrel one night and
You
and
had to go there. You had to go there.
my favorite. It's my favorite.
I'm sure.
Most Cracker Barrels, when you use the restroom, the ladies' room is usually what, on the right, and the
When
men's
you
room's
walk
on the
into
left.
That little alcove where to go to the restroom in the Cracker Barrel.
Right.
I would say 95% of the nationwide Cracker Barrels, you go to the left to enter the men's room. If
Right.
you go to the right, you enter the ladies' room.
Right. So I go into the ladies'
room. We had to
room.
go to the one Cracker Barrel in the entire United States.
We've been in 100 of them,
where they
at least.
flipped.
They
flipped
switched
the
it.
scenario. Yeah, if I ever meet that architect that designed it. Anyway, go ahead.
So anyway, I'm sitting, I'm doing my meditation in one of the stalls, and I look down, and next to me are these huge
male sneakers.
size 13 New Balance black shoes. And I look down, and first of all, they're pointing the wrong direction. And I look at them, and I know exactly.
Actually, they weren't pointing.
Well, for me they were, not for you.
Yes, they were pointing in the wrong direction.
So
Not for me.
I know. I don't say a word. I don't knock on the thing. All I do is bend down.
Yes, you did.
And I grab his little.
No. You didn't grab anything.
What
no,
do I do?
no.
No,
You just put your
hand under there?
under
Oh.
the divider.
And let me tell you what I said.
This is still a
And
PG program.
It is a PG program,
Okay.
but I put my hand under there and waved at him, and I went,
Yes, you did.
"How you doing? How you doing?" And he
That
goes,
you did.
"Uh-oh."
Yeah. Well, I had already become a little suspicious for two reasons. Because when you walk in, the decor was not exactly the decor you see in a men's room.
No.
In a restaurant.
No.
That was number one.
Right.
But you just chalk it up to you go into so many places, you just don't think. Number two, there's certain not facilities, but there's certain equipment that is you
Well, and it
find-
also, I'll be honest with you, I've been in men's rooms, and I'm going to tell you right now, women's rooms always smell better.
Well, we're not even going to go there.
Yeah,
That's a
but I'm
given.
just trying to,
But there's certain pieces of equipment. Let's
Yes,
put it that
that's
way.
okay.
That you'll find in a men's room in a public
right.
restroom,
And
that
you didn't
do
notice
not-
they were not in there.
You do not
That's right.
find them, and
That's
no,
right.
I know. The thought occurred
But
to
it
me.
was
like,
so fun.
Where
I mean,
are they?
this was like out of a reality show.
Yeah, it was a
because the
reality,
way I
all
had,
right.
just go, "How you doing? How you doing?" That's great. There's
Oh.
another one I have of you.
There's more.
There's
This
more.
isn't enough.
This is called "Let's See Just How Much We Can Embarrass Jeff Duffield."
You're doing well. You're doing so
No,
wonderfully.
it's fun. I'm going to have, like I say, I'm going to take some shots at myself too.
I'm going to
but
go back to my
there's another
enunciation
one.
here in a minute. So.
Okay, we were with another couple, and we wanted ice cream. And we were in an ice cream store. Now, I was in the car. I didn't hear about this until later.
That wasn't an ice cream store, but go ahead.
It was a donut and ice cream store.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, next door was.
That's right.
All right.
So there was a wonderful young woman behind the counter.
Keep in mind, I can edit this later.
That's
but-
okay.
Okay.
But no, I really, after it was all over, I felt bad for you because I thought she recovered quite
you
well.
You didn't feel bad
So
for me.
Jeff thinks that she's from a foreign country.
She sounded like
she sounded like she was from a foreign country the way she
Yes.
talked.
Yes.
And so Jeff says to her, here we go again. If you heard the first broadcast, this was kind of the filter thing.
And if you didn't, don't bother to
Don't
go back. Yeah.
But Jeff says to the young woman, a beautiful young woman, he says, "Oh, what country are you from with that accent?" And she said, Oh, I'm from the United States. I just have a speech impediment. Now, listen, before you write me letters.
We're not making fun.
There are people right now, you have to laugh at this. We're laughing at Jeff.
She laughed at it. She laughed at it. She thought it was hilarious. I didn't laugh at it as much as she did.
I know she did. Yeah. And she was such a good sport. She was
a
so
sweetheart.
Great.
She was a very young lady, but a very sweet young lady.
But we
took it all in stride.
We howled for hours after that.
Yes, you did.
I know.
What's this wee stuffed tonto? Oh, dear. I'm never going to be allowed to come back to this studio.
That's all right. Well, Jeff Duffield.
Is it time?
Your part of the program is over.
Oh, my gosh.
And you know what? It might be, after this episode, it might really be over.
Yes. And all the saints said amen.
And all the saints said.
Yes.
So you may return now back to your easy chair.
I'm going to return back to my studio engineer
and have
chair.
Yourself some Reese's peanut butter M&Ms.
They are over there. I think I can go have those. Yeah.
I didn't make you any sweet tea today.
No,
But you could have a glass of milk with them. I'll let you do that.
Oh, that glass of milk and M&M. Yeah. That's a breakfast.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Yeah. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, mostly your pleasure.
That's right.
Or your amusement.
But you know what? Let me just tell you something.
No,
I'm going to spiritualize something here, just a little bit.
Okay.
Because we do laugh at each other and we laugh with each other. I think that's
Seems
the
like
longevity.
There's been more laughing towards my direction here for the first 16 minutes and 30 seconds of this program.
Oh, I know. But you're such a good sport, though.
Do I have a choice?
No. Okay, goodbye.
I'm done.
All right, you're done.
But I'm not gone.
Okay.
There's a difference.
That's right.
Yes. All right. Carry on.
Yes, carry
Behave
on.
yourself, and whatever you do, don't embarrass yourself.
I've got some
That's what your mother used to tell you.
That's right.
Every time you walked out the door. And your daughter did, for that matter, too. Okay, I'm done. Goodbye.
All right, goodbye. He's a nut. Can't help it. Pray for him. That he'll do well through this quarantine with me 24/7. My outlet is I used to travel before all of this, and I was on the road at least 3 or 4 days a week. And now suddenly we are immersed into being together 24/7, can't do anything but just look at each other and say, okay, let's find out what else we can mess up. Well, one of my favorite faux pas of embarrassment over the years was the day that I packed the bag really quickly and threw in what I thought was a pair of dress shoes, and I did. And when I got to the hotel in Massachusetts and unloaded in the hotel, and I looked at my shoes, and I had one Naturalizer high heel pump black. And I had another one, and I looked at it, and it was a Naturalizer black low-heeled pump. That's what I brought. So when I got to the platform and I walked on stage, I had a slight limp, as you could tell. So, if it probably would have happened to anyone else, they would be freaking totally out. They would have had to go to Payless or hit some sort of shoe store and, to compensate. Oh, no. When Sue Duffield saw that she packed one high heel and one low heel, I thought, this is going to be great for comedy tonight. So, of course it did. I walked across the stage in a Carol Burnett type fashion, as if I was on her broadcast. And I said to the crowd, I said, you know what? The crazy thing about this is I have a pair just like this at home. And I know that's old, but it was sure fun. And it really did work for me in that specific circumstance. The very first time Jeff and I were ever invited to sing and to lead worship for Chuck Colson and the Prison Fellowship briefings, which was a high honor for us several years ago. First of all, we boarded a plane that was delayed in Charlotte, and we had to fly to Fort Myers through Tampa. And when we got to Tampa, which we were running late as it was, we were running around like crazy to try to rent a car, to jump in the car, because from Tampa to Fort Myers was another 2 hours. We ran into traffic. We're already nervous as it is because, this is the Chuck Colson ministry briefing. This is where they raise not thousands of dollars, but they raise millions of dollars with Prison Fellowship International. And we were going to lead worship for this ministry briefing of a weekend. Oh, my word. And we had never met Chuck Colson yet. We came in highly recommended. We never had the opportunity to meet John, who at the time was his coordinator. And so we finally get there. We have literally 10 minutes to run up to our hotel room, get a shower, throw some clothes on. And as soon as we come down off the elevator, we hear our name being introduced in the convention center. And so we rush in the back door. We are literally being introduced. We go on the stage. And, in the rider, we had asked that we needed a full-size keyboard, a monitor. I'm sure we must have said we needed a sustain pedal for the keyboard. I know we did. But when we got up on the stage, all Jeff had was just the keyboard with no sustain pedal. Now, for those of you that aren't musicians right now, that wouldn't make a big deal to you, but let me just say something to you. That's like having a car without an accelerator pedal. And Jeff was just freaking out. Oh, my word, how am I going to play this without a sustain pedal? Then all of his charts that he had for all of the music we were doing, and we literally had to do everything down to a science. I think we had 11 minutes for the first briefing. That first session, we sang terrible. Jeff played like I don't know what it sounded like. It was very stoic and starchy because there was no sustain pedal. The lyrics fell on the floor. The charts fell on the floor. People were looking at us, and I'm thinking, we had one shot to do this right. And Chuck Colson will never invite us back again. After we were all done, we were sweating, and the first person to come up to us was Chuck. And he said to me and looked at Jeff, he said, "Man, that was awesome." I just said, "You know what? I am so sorry, Mr. Colson. It is like the worst thing we've ever done." And they didn't even see that. But we were the ones that were humiliated and embarrassed. And then they finally found, oh, is that what that thing is in the van? We didn't know what that was to that keyboard. Oh, that's a sustain pedal? Oh, my gosh. Okay, so then we had it for the remaining part of the conference, which worked out great. My friend Jonathan, great pastor from Salisbury, Maryland, he has a great story he shared with me the other day. He said one of his major goofs was when he was dedicating a baby and said, "Children are a heritage of the Lord, and a fruit of the loom is his reward." Fruit of the loom. These are things that just happen, and it makes for good conversation. It makes for great storytelling. And I'm telling you, we've done everything from starting, songs in the wrong key. And we did like a callback of a song one night, and Jeff started in the wrong key, and we were way up here in the rafters singing all night. And it was like, oh, just let it go. And people were looking at us like we were absolutely insane. But one of my favorite stories that I get asked a lot to talk about, more than any other embarrassing story, was when I was on a plane in a dress. And it was very unusual for Sue Duffield to wear a dress on a plane. And it was a very turbulent plane ride, can I say to you? And I needed to use the lavatory. Now, the pilot has already said, please sit in your seats, stay secure. We have a real rough ride here. No one moving around, no one using the lavatory. Well, I'm on a window seat. There's a young couple sitting next to me. And I lean over to the girl and I said, "I know he just said that, but I need to go to the lavatory." And she says, "Didn't you just hear what the pilot just said?" And I said, "If you don't move, I'm going to make a mess. And it's going to be on you." So she quickly got up. I go all the way to the back of the plane. I get to the lavatory. I shut the door. And as soon as I sit down, the pilot comes on. Bing! All passengers, please report to their seats immediately. Oh, man. So I pull up real fast, and I bust through that door, and I walk the entire aisle of the plane with my dress stuck in my underwear. Now, I don't know this. And do you think anybody along that trek of aisle 25 and 24 and 13 and 12 would say, excuse me, miss, your dress is stuck in you're stuck in your underwear. Oh, no, nobody did that. So I get to my row, and the young couple that's sitting there looks at me, and I said, to expedite because it's so, the turbulence is just awful. And I said to them, just sit there, I'll crawl over you. And that's what I did. Can you imagine this? Here's the visual. I'm crawling over them with my dress stuck in my underwear, and I'm crawling with my back towards their faces. And I'm saying, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. And it wasn't until I sat down on the seat that I realized my dress was stuck in my granny panties. That's right. So I'm laughing and crying now. And again, like I say, embarrassing situations prove who you are. And I bend down to try and get my purse because I'm crying, I'm laughing so hard. And when I do, my purse is upside down and the turbulence is crazy and my stuff comes flying out, lipstick's rolling over here, my wallet's over there, a pen goes rolling down the aisle, and then a business card floats out. And the guy on the other side of the aisle picks up my business card and it has my picture on it. He looks at me, and then he looks at the business card. He looks at me and then looks at the business card again. And he goes, oh, my gosh, are you in show business? I said, yes, as of today, in fact. I just showed my business. You can't write stuff like this. You really can't. I remember I grabbed a green bag of wasabi peas and a handful, when I was sitting on the couch, and at the same time, my cat who was with me, I grabbed a few kitty treats for my daughter's teacup chihuahua. I know it doesn't make sense, but this chihuahua will eat everything, and she loves those Whiskas treats, the kitty treats. And so it's obvious that I have in one hand, I have wasabi peas from a Harry and David store. And in the other hand, I have these kitty treats, and I'm watching a movie that I just love. And so I'm handing Lola, I thought was a kitty treat. And then I'm thinking I'm going to pop the wasabi pea into my mouth. Well, it ended up being totally opposite. And so what ends up happening, I didn't do it just once, I did it twice. A handful of kitty treats in my left hand, a handful of wasabi peas in my right hand, and the kitty treats win the juggling act. Yes, they do. And I'm eating kitty treats. Now, what makes this embarrassing is that no one would have to know this. I mean, I'm the only one at home. Who has to know? I mean, seriously, who has to know that I'm feeding myself kitty treats? Oh, but I'm that self-revelating person, I posted the incident on Facebook, and my friend's first response was, oh my gosh, that poor dog. You gave her wasabi peas. Now, she never even tasted a mere morsel of the wasabis, but I surely crunched on a few of those Whiskas temptation treats. By the way, the seafood medley wasn't too bad, but long enough to chew and to spew. By catapult style, Jeff makes fun of me when I say this, by pyloric valve, I spit across the living room, and I'm like running around like a crazy person. It was very impressive. All those years of spitting pomegranate seeds across the hedge from my front porch on Dixie Drive in Carneys Point, it really did help me become that fine spewer that I am today. And I wish I could tell you, though, that I immediately respond or spit out quickly the things that repulse or defile me as a holistic and spiritual believer. I wish I could say to you that I have that immediate reaction like that. And to say, truthfully, that I've been known to chew the acuity fat is a bit obtuse. By the way, that word obtuse, you'll be very impressed. I learned that word from Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption. It's not in good taste to join the ranks of off-color jokes and also to laugh along with the Hollywood mindset and their raunchy ways. I know that. But isn't it interesting that I invited into my house quite liberally, as if an honored guest for the evening. You know, whenever I turn on a late night television show or Netflix or rent a Redbox that shouldn't be a Redbox movie that shouldn't really be there, you know, you could say it's just in the background, but I'm going to be honest with you. The obscene language and the vulgar improprieties and the shocking lewd filth that comes across sometimes our airwaves, it's just very offensive. And I wonder if I would ever, like I spewed those Whiskas temptation treats out of my mouth, if I could just throw that controller out the window and say, forget this. This is ridiculous. I know one thing, I am more sensitive than ever to the things that feed and sustain my soul. And during this quarantine, I'm learning to feed my soul. And I'm learning that whatever turns my stomach, whatever media things that come across that really do bother me, I have learned that I need to just turn it off. And this is what happens when you feast on good food and understand its life-giving force. You know the difference, quickly. And at first taste of the gross stuff, just stand back and hurl with me. I'll be right beside you, kitty treats and all. One of my favorite scriptures during this whole time has been from 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." Boy, that's the truth. God's word warns me of danger, and it directs me to such hidden treasure sometimes. Otherwise, how could I find my way? Or how do I know when we play the fool or the clean slate, God, so we can start the day fresh? Give me that clean slate. Keep me from stupid things and stupid sins and from thinking I can take over your work. Then I can start this day sun-washed, scrubbed clean of the grime of sin. And these are the words in my mouth, and these are what I chew on and I pray every single day. Today during our walk, Jeff and I prayed for not just our needs and not just our protection, but we pray for others. He is definitely our rock and our Redeemer. He's my altar rock. He's the priest of my altar. And my words do count. And even when I've been embarrassed and have done or said the wrong things, Proverbs 16:24 is another favorite that says, "Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. And may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight. Lord, you are my rock and my Redeemer." So I also find it whimsical, too, that the Whiskas treats are called temptations. And yeah, I laugh out loud over that one for a while. We'll see you next time. The incredible ways that we can overcome temptation and we can overcome embarrassing situations. It's so tempting sometimes to be offended and be hurt, but use it to the best of your ability. And don't be surprised when somebody says, "You know what? I so relate to that." That's because you're real. We'll see you next time.
Your encouragement, feedback, and comments are always welcome here at the Subiquitous Podcast. Email Sue at radiosue@me.com or go directly to her website, sueduffield.com. If you've been inspired today, share this episode with your friends. The Subiquitous Podcast and Sue Duffield Ministries are part of Ennoble Ministries, a 501c3 nonprofit helping women in ministry around the world.